Hello, friends, and welcome to Shelf Help. This is a podcast powered by the friends at Settle. If you know Settle, you know we're all about empowering the people behind the consumer brands that shape our world. And this show is essentially an extension of that. So we're going to be diving deep into the real stuff, the stories, the mess, the mental health strategies that help leaders grow fearlessly. Everyone, please welcome to the show Jason Bronstad, who is the CEO of Malk Organics. And honestly, Malk does not need an introduction. They're a rapidly growing plant-based milk company known for its commitment to just clean and simple ingredients. My family is personally a huge fan of them. So if you see like my husband walking around Chicago with he'll just drink the almond milk like it's water and take it on his walks with him. But it's a brand that we truly love and we're so happy to get introduced to last year, thanks to Ryan. And he really has really deep CPG experience, 20 years to be exact, and he has had leadership roles at really large CPG companies. And correct me if I'm wrong, but all based out of Chicago, correct? For the most part?
So I did a couple stints in Chicago.
Okay.
The president who I brought on, Ryan Rouse, he is originally from Chicago and lived up there for a period of time. So
Yeah.
there are definitely some Chicago roots to what we've done, but I'm proud to say I
Yes.
am a native Texan, and we've ended up there a couple times.
Love it. Love it. Okay, amazing. And that is where you currently reside, correct?
Yes, ma'am. I'm in Austin, Texas.
All right. Amazing. Yes, Austin, Texas. Such a wonderful city. I got to visit in January for the first time, and it was a really fun time. But honestly, I was just really inspired by your story when it comes to just your personal journey and also the alignment with Malk and how that opportunity just came to be. But ultimately, I just wanted to say that is the reason why I wanted to reach out to you. But welcome to the show.
Thank you for being here. I'm flattered by the kind words, and to be very transparent, none of this happens without an incredible team that we have
Absolutely.
here at Malk. So I have the opportunity to be the front man for the team, and I take that with great humble responsibility.
I love that. And I think that's just such a consistent thread with such strong leaders is as I've been talking to them more and more, it's just the absolute gratitude that they have for their teams and knowing, hey, I know I do a lot of hard things here, but all of that is made possible by the team and they're really carrying Malk on their backs, right? I guess I wanted to kind of start off with your personal wellness journey. Specifically, I think it was the introduction to jiu-jitsu that kind of was a turning point. Tell me about where you were at that point in your life and why jiu-jitsu was just appealing in that moment. Was there this aha moment where you were kind of I just need to get it together or I need to prioritize my physical and mental health? What was going on with Jason around that time?
So first and foremost, I am the husband of Melissa. So great name.
Thank you.
For 20 years this year, I'm blessed with two children. My daughter Vivian is 12. My son Holden turns 9 in July.
Wow.
And it starts going back to them. So the roots of my transformation revolve around wanting to be a better parent and show up and lead in a better way. My daughter is blessed with my genetics, and she's quite tall at 12. She's already 5'7.5". And she's always been the head above. And we had her in team sports and she was struggling because she didn't feel like she fit into the team of the same age. I'm like, I listened to enough podcasts and it's I heard jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, well, your age doesn't matter because they're going to pair you up with someone close to your size. So I joined jiu-jitsu with the intent to get my daughter in. It's
really?
If you do it, I'll do it.
Wow, that's awesome.
So we joined at the same time, 19. And as things like that happen, I'm the one that fell deeply in love with it and found an outlet. So just in full transparency, at that time in my life and a lot of my adult life, I was well over 300 pounds. I was not eating right. I was drinking too much. I was not exercising. And I was the typical driven CPG leader, aspiring CPG leader that would work too hard, yo-yo diet, crazy binge diet kind of a thing. And I never found what was right for me. I never pursued it. And I've been in packaged meats, beverage alcohol. I've run the spectrum of a lot of different segments of our industry. And it got to the point, and I looked in the mirror, I'm like, this is not how I want to show up for my kids. Vivian was 6 at that time, was 7, turning 7 that year. My son was 3.5, 4, and they were I'm looking in the mirror at their dad that's over 300 pounds, not eating right, and like, we're gonna go do this jujitsu thing, and that kicked off. Is like I started rapid weight loss through some pretty intense physical activity with that, which led to doing the 75 hard, which that combined with jujitsu, I started to shed a lot of weight, and eventually, at one point, I'd lost over 100 pounds, and I got down to a weight for a competition in jiu-jitsu, but I'm in the 240 range right now, high 230s, 240. And I'm at a point where I actually feel good about where I'm at.
Yeah, I love
And
that.
it's helped me to get to the point of my life, and this is what I want to hit on. Once I was able to look in the mirror and be okay with myself, then I surrounded myself with a group of men that would push back and challenge me. I actually learned how to love myself for the first time in my life.
Aw. Thank you for saying that out loud. I know, I think especially like something I often talk about with a lot of my male friends, because I have so many wonderful male friends, is just like just the fact that you can even formulate that sentence, because there's just such a crisis like around men right now and their mental health and well-being. And so like talking to somebody who like has had that journey and has come to the other side of it and is just at a place of just security, which I think is so important.
I think we're always in the journey. I don't think we're to the other side. So I appreciate the words, and I'm going to check that for a second and be like, there's always a bit of this, the male ego is always biting back, like, are you good
Yeah.
enough? Are you good enough? Are you good enough? Are you
Yeah.
providing enough? Are you healthy enough?
Yeah.
Are you making the right choices enough? Are you showing up enough? So there's always that yin and yang, right? There's always the bright
Absolutely.
side, and then there's the shadow side. I mean, the yin and
Yeah.
yang is
Very
real in
Carl Jung
everything
of
we do.
you. Yes. Yeah. No, yeah, I appreciate that. That makes complete sense. On the topic of parenting as a leader, I imagine that that has been difficult to balance. And I notice you're part of this community called Front Row Dad. Can you tell us a little bit about that and just that overall mission and why that's so important to you?
Yeah, the main headline is family men with businesses, not businessmen with families.
Mm.
So if you actually prioritize first what is most important to you, so many of us want to say, and I've said it my entire life, my family is the most important. My calendar never reflected it.
Yeah.
My actions didn't reflect it. They were really nice words to say. They sounded really good. But at the end of the day, it's got to be put into action. And I was extremely fortunate when my wife found the home that we're in now, that the neighbor that we share a back fence with and subsequently put a gate in between our homes. He was a part of this group of men. He's like, hey, why don't you come check it out? I think you'd like it. And
Wow.
I was able to drop into a group at the time. I think there were 150, 160. I think there's approaching 400 now regular members in
That
this
is awesome.
organization across multiple countries, with the intentionality that we want to show up as our best selves, not only for our families, but also for our emotional health, for our thriving marriages, intentional parenting. We want to grow our businesses at the same time. So how can we holistically support the whole man who has these aspirations to show up as their best version in each one of them?
Yeah.
So it's changed my outlook and perspective and prioritization in so many things.
Wow. That's awesome. And if there's like a founder who, you're thinking of, or we can all think of, who's struggling through prioritizing that balance, what would you tell them? Like what are some things that might be helpful as far as like strategies where you're like, I think I remember hearing one where it was a leader at some like tech company, probably like Apple or Netflix, but he said, Tuesdays are my day to spend with my wife. I end the day every day at 4 p.m. and that is her day. Anything like that that has worked for you as far as like placing hard boundaries or maybe some like internal rules within your family to help with that?
I love the question. And I can say over the last 5 years that I've been a part of this organization, it's been an evolution. And
Yeah.
I think as humans, we're meant to evolve. If I say there's a cut and dry solution, that's wrong. I can share what works for Melissa and I.
Yeah.
We have 12 date nights a year, one per month.
Love that. Yeah.
And I had the courage a few years ago to say, Melissa, I feel a lot of pressure to plan all these. She went, oh, cool. I'll plan half of them. Weight off my shoulder. So we alternate months. Like
I
I
love
play in
that.
January, she does February. And that date night is just the two of us. And whatever, it's something that we wouldn't typically do. Like we're not just
Yeah.
gonna go to dinner and have a drink. I've chosen to walk away from alcohol.
Yeah.
but we want to do something new, different, unique. One of my favorite, and I should get the picture in here. Melissa is a teacher by trade, and we have all sorts of teaching supplies from early childhood,
Yeah.
kindergarten through second grade. She brought her painting supplies. We went and had dinner. We got a salad to go from this neighborhood restaurant that we were big fans of. And then we went to Zilker Park, sat at a park bench, and spent an hour staring into each other's eyes and painting each other without talking.
Wow.
It was one of the most intimate dates I've ever had with my wife.
Yeah.
Because I sat there and I stared at her, and my intention was to convey her on this canvas that she gave me.
Man,
and we
I
had
really-
so much
yeah.
fun because we laughed.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
I'm not an artist. That is like the last thing I would have ever thought to do. This last weekend, we went to, there's a place here in Austin called Slow North, and we went and made scented soy candles.
I love that. Yes.
So we find things that are new, different, and unique. So that's one aspect of it. That's our connection time.
Yeah.
We also, every month, have a planning meeting. What is a planning meeting? Well, what do we need to lock in with regards to travel? How's our budget doing? And this was born out of the fact that, a few years ago, we're going through the budget. You know what was the most underspent? Babysitters and date nights. Because we stopped planning them. We stopped doing them. We deprioritized that. And we're like, well, that's our choice. So we've changed. So now we have that monthly planning meeting. And, this one on Sunday, we were booking the kids' camps for the summertime. We were making sure that we had the arrangements for all of our travel.
Right.
What's changed in our schedule? What do you need? When do I need to be in town? When am I traveling? How can we show up for each other in the best way? So we don't deal with that business side of our relationship on our date nights. Our date nights is just about, it's the honeymoon phase, right? It's the connection. It's finding that, it's bringing that energy back into the relationship that brought us together in the first place.
That is absolutely true, because I think like for my partner and I, we do these walks, and it's really easy to start having those conversations like come up where it's like not focused on just the intimate connection. It's like we're mixing a little bit of everything together, because if you're bottling that up inside, you're like, oh, I finally have a minute to talk to you. Let's go over these like administrative things in our family, versus having some uninterrupted time to really spend together where we don't have to worry about that.
And pro tip, if you're
Let's hear
Apple
it.
family, use shared notes. And as something comes up, put it in the shared notes. That is our agenda for our planning meeting.
I love that. Yeah.
That's
and
it.
it's just something you can just constantly be updating as things come up. You just put it down, and it's like, hey, when we have that monthly planning meeting, we're going to revisit that.
And that's it.
Yeah. I love that.
It's working for us.
That is a wonderful strategy, and hopefully everyone's hearing like this is like really, really good stuff. And overall, it's just, I think like what you said is just aligning your actions with your values, because
Can I go one step further too, Mel?
No, bring it. Let's do it.
So that's my intentionality with my bride.
Yeah.
I'm a father as well.
Yes.
I have 4 board meetings a year with my kids. Board meeting with your
Really?
kids? What is that?
Yeah.
There's actually,
let's hear
it's
it.
like a 100-page book. The author is Jim Shields. It's called The Family Board Meeting. It started because he was on a surfboard.
Yeah.
So not like a board of directors.
Yeah.
But this is so Melissa has 4 board meetings a year with our kids as well. So we both do this, but it's dedicated time with each kid, minimum of 4 hours. They plan it. And my kids are at the age now where they can plan it, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
So they plan the date. It has to include one meal. We've given them a budget for the date, and it's their time. We can use the phone one time to take one picture, and that's it. And it is that focused one-on-one time with your
That is
children.
great. Talk about building core memories right there and doing it. Because it doesn't have to be like a family vacation, right? Like it's like just the quarterly check-in where it's like we're going to do something that is going to really just build just intentional time together as a family. I love that board meeting. I'm going to have to check that out. That sounds awesome. My son is only about to be 3 next week, actually. So we got a ways to go there, but I'm definitely implementing that. Oh man, you are dropping so many gems here. Tell me, like, so it sounds like, the relationship that you had in building community with Front Row Dads really sounded like it opened up like a lot when it comes to vulnerability for you. What was your like perception of vulnerability as somebody who is a husband, father, leader before or historically in the past? And how has that evolved over time? Because it just sounds like there's just this really amazing openness about you.
Probably going to get emotional, so just get ready. And I'm going to start broader. Think men of my age range, I'm in my 40s, typically grew up in households where there was a paternal powerhouse and they set the edict of the house and they ruled without emotion.
Mm.
And my dad ruled without emotion. I've seen my dad cry, I think, 4 times in my life.
Yeah.
One of them was at the birth of my daughter.
Wow.
It was his first granddaughter. And I never thought I was able to show emotion. I didn't think it was manly to show emotion. So what I did as an emotional human inside was I would compress, suppress, and repress my emotions. And there's only so much space we have in our hearts and our souls to compress, suppress, and repress emotions. And all of these words, everything I'm sharing with you, these are not Jason originals. These are stolen from Front Row Dads. These are gifts that they've given me in words to express things and books they've read and people they've been around. So in the compressing, suppressing, and repressing of emotions, I was full. And in order to avoid them, that's when I would turn to drinking. That's when I would turn to overeating. I didn't know how therapeutic exercise could actually be for me. And I've gone so far to the point where I've learned about and actually practiced some somatic breath work with a somatic breath coach, which is a very intentional breath work with someone, think of a meditation meets psychiatrist combination. It might be the most simplistic way to put it, where you actually are reaching inside. It's like, what can I let go of that I've been holding on to for too long? What is it that I have inside of me that has me so full I can't hold space for someone else? And I've worked through a lot of that. I got a lot more to go.
Yeah.
There's some people, we have veterans that have gone all the way to the end of the spectrum and done like plant-based medicine trips, ayahuasca or what.
Yeah.
I've gone as far as, and probably will stop at, somatic breathwork because that's what works for me.
Yeah.
And it's changed so much about my ability to actually be in the moment and feel emotions and be real and actually cry in front of my kids, to be able to hold space when they have tantrums. My son, I tell this story. I call my parents all the time now, and I'll just, when they answer, I'll be like, get dad on the phone or get mom on the phone. They get them up there like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
And I still do this for the phone instead of this.
Right.
So, I'm sorry. And they're like, and it's now to the point like, ooh, what did Holden do this time?
Right.
Because I know that I'm raising me and
Yes.
I see what they went through. And it's like, oh my gosh, I put them through so much. But I was a good kid, as was my brother. He was a really good kid too. So it was just one of those things. It's like our abilities as humans to hold space for others, because I have no idea what you went through today before we got on this call. And one of the most beautiful things is we both took a really deep breath before we started this recording, and it just centered us, right? It just got us into this moment where and you're holding incredible space. So thank you for that gift. And I don't even know where we got started on this conversation. I got going, but I'll pause and I'll let you reflect.
Yeah, I think going to what you're saying, when you were speaking, I just think a lot about how there's these, I think, misconceptions and around hard times make for strong men and these things. And to a certain extent, I could understand certain things because we can all contest to the fact that it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, going through strong moments and times does create a certain grit about you, right? And there's growth that comes from that. But also, I think what that fails to acknowledge is there's a balance, like you mentioned, where there is a time, in both men and women, a masculine and feminine energy, and a time to be, there is no, this is bad or this is good. It's about using the tool that you have for the moment that you meet, and I think when I think about a lot of when you were mentioning harder dads, back in the day, still to this day, there is that, but knowing that it's important for children to see that balance. And it's not always hard dad, but you never see that soft dad. Because I'm sure there are moments where you might have to be a harder dad than you'd like to be, and
2 days ago, and I could tell that
right.
story too. Yeah, it's like I was there.
Yes. And so I think it's them knowing, he'll get there if he has to be, but he also has the ability to hold space for me when I need that. you know? And I think that's so important, is being able to fluctuate between that energy, which I think a lot of dads back in the day didn't know how to do. They didn't have the tools to do, right? Because their dad was probably even harder ass, you know?
They were the softer version of their dad.
Correct. And it just it's taken so many generations to get to a point where like I think like we're starting to see the balance, and I hope on both sides too, where I think that that's something that I always think about in relationships, like personal relationships, whether it's like husband and wife, like sister and brother, and mom and a parent and child, and so that's what I was thinking about when you were talking. And so I think it sounds like you've been able to have that balance, and
I'm
it's so
continuing to
wonderful.
evolve and be aware of the need for that.
Yeah.
And I'll give the very short story of 2 days ago. My son was supposed to be practicing soccer with his school team. It was all, so he's in third grade, and it was all 6th through 12th graders. And he's
Yeah.
like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, okay, cool. You can make that choice. And I'm going to choose what you're going to do because this was your option. You chose
Yeah.
this. Now you're backing out of that. Now we're getting back on the jiu-jitsu mats.
Yeah.
So, I mean, epic
I love that.
meltdown at
Yeah.
home. I mean, threw the biggest fit, pounding the pillows. He
Yeah.
gets on the mats. He smiles for an hour straight. Had a blast. And it's so much so,
Mm.
like, one of the best phrases I've heard is, our job is not to parent our children, but to guide them.
Yes.
There is 0.0% chance our children know exactly what they should do. But we've been blessed with the responsibility to guide them and give them the opportunities and show them paths that could be the path for them.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. That's a great example. Um, and I think it's knowing they lean on us to have a better understanding of themselves than they do in that current moment, you know? Because you knew that he was probably going to enjoy it. He just needed to, maybe get out of that potential funk he could have been in. It could have been like a mood thing, and that's awesome.
Well,
And
I didn't
yeah,
articulate to him that it was happening that day.
yeah,
I didn't make it clear to him that, no, actually, we're leaving soccer practice. We're going home. We're getting your old jiu-jitsu belt, and we're going today.
yeah,
He just wants to know the why.
yeah,
And how important is it? And how often do we forget as leaders? Like, we know the why. Like, it's in our brain. We're just on to steps 5, 6, 7, where step 2 is explain the why.
yeah.
Why are we going to do this? What does it mean? Why is it important?
Love that. Curious how your vulnerability has evolved, and I'm sure your leadership has evolved with that. What is it like now managing this awesome team versus what it was like maybe 10 years ago?
I thought that I had to separate work and personal life. So I built a barrier that was 10 foot tall between work and personal. And when I was in work mode, which was probably 70% of my waking hours, I was in full work mode, and I couldn't exist in both at the same time. So you could look at it and say I was two different people. I was work Jason and I was home Jason. And I like to think I gave my best at both. And I was showing up halfway in each of them because I wasn't showing up as who I really
You're
am.
cutting me deep.
It's a realization
Yeah.
that I had, unfortunately, way later in life than I wish I would have. And I remain grateful that I've had that realization. So I can now, I literally hung up with Ryan earlier, had a great chat. Ryan Rouse is our president of commercial business, all sales and marketing. And I said, thank you for the conflict today. We were going back and forth on something where the ego of Jason 10 years ago would have been like, how dare he challenge me? To now it's like, dude, that was a great challenge. Thank you for that. I really enjoyed that because it's that type of conflict and the ability to have good, healthy conflict with those people you work with and respect that you work with, that you can move the business forward. So there's a lot of things that have evolved over the years, and I'm a different leader today than I was 5 years ago. And I aspire to be a different leader in 5 years from now.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I was talking to Jason from Actual Veggies, and he said the same thing about just leaning into the disagreements and having a sense of gratitude about them, and that is a big important thing for his decision-making process with their entire team, because of the fact that it's created so much positivity in those disagreements and having those differing ideas versus it being like this echo chamber of just like, oh, I agree with you, I agree with you, I agree with you. And so I think it takes a level of like maturity to get to that point where you can like look at that and it not, and you can kind of be above that emotion that you could feel in that moment. Like, I'm sure like it sometimes can bring something up when you're having those conversations and still like acknowledging and being like, no, but I'm going to lean into this because I know the outcome will be potentially better. That's awesome. And I think it's based on the folks that I've been speaking to, it sounds like a consistent attribute that's really important when it comes to strong leadership.
Do you know what ego actually stands for?
No.
Everyone's greatest opponent. I stolen from one of my team members, so
Very
appreciate that,
cool.
Miles.
Yeah, that's very cool. Shout out to Miles. Curious, I wanted to wrap up here. And one of my last questions that I have here is before, like, I definitely give you the opportunity to also let folks figure out how to connect with you and where to purchase Malk. What is one thing that you're really proud about Malk and the company, the team, that people don't see from the outside, that's not obvious?
So my favorite Slack channel is Dreams Wins. And if I just go through memory on what's occurred on our Dream Wins this year, we've had 3 people buy houses. We've
Love
had
that.
one person that got married a few weeks ago. I've got another wedding next week. We had one person yesterday with a birth announce or a pregnancy announcement.
Very cool.
And it's one thing to be, I honor them for their vulnerability to share, what are they actually dreaming of, what's actually important in their life. And the other is the genuine way the balance of the organization just wraps their arms around them. It's like, I am so happy for you because that is amazing. Because we can live to work or work to live. And how do we support people in living life while growing the business? And the way this company has embraced this approach, we launched this Dream Wins programs is not even the right term. There's a gentleman, Dane Espegard, who wrote the book The Dream Machine, and we implemented that approach into our business when we had 9 people, and we're over 40 now. And as people come in, it's just, this is what we do at Malk. We have dreams, we document them, and we share them, and we celebrate them. And the beautiful thing is we have times where we just get to surprise and delight people. Right before I got on this call, I got a text from one of our team members who I had a one-on-one with, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. And there was just in that conversation, and I talk to every employee in the company at least once every 8 weeks. And in that conversation, there was a share of like, my daughter, we're looking at we went somewhere and she played on this slide and it was amazing. So we went and found a little playscape and sent it to her, because we wanted that same experience to be able to
Very
carry on
sweet.
at home.
Yeah.
So we love to surprise and delight our team. We love to surprise and delight our consumers and just be present. And that's not easy. I've been a part of small teams within big organizations where we've had that camaraderie. There's a different feel when the entire organization goes, man, I'm so happy for you. Or with the pregnancy announcement, you're going to be such an amazing mother. When the team genuinely shares that, it really lights me up about the group of humans we have in this organization.
That's awesome and wonderful. And I think something that leaders everywhere can implement, just a Slack channel dedicated to celebrating like those personal wins. I mean, and just, I think a lot of times there are certain organizations like no idea that all of this amazing, exciting milestones are going on. And it could even be something as simple as like, what you mentioned, like I went to a park and I played and that was, that's great. Like I was present with my kid, that, yeah, that's
I had an
awesome.
employee that shared that he went and drove by himself a couple of hours to go to a concert because someone backed out, and shared vulnerably, like, I had the greatest time. I went and had amazing Japanese food,
It's awesome.
and I forgot that it's okay to be alone. And
Yeah.
sometimes we have to sit with ourselves in the moment and go, how am I? Because as leaders, we focus on the company, we focus on our team, we focus on our families. But how often do we sit down and go, am I okay today?
Yeah. What does that solo time look like for you?
Cold plunge or some journaling.
Yeah.
And I don't do any of them consistently enough. I'd love to
Yeah.
say I've got this incredible morning routine and I do this. I don't, guys. I put a cold plunge in my garage. I've got a sauna in my garage. I got a smoking
Yeah.
hot deal on that.
Yeah.
And when I do those when I need it.
Yeah.
I do those when my body is asking for that support.
Yeah.
And I'm learning to listen to my body when it needs that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that too. Because I do think that there's sometimes like, I think rituals and routines are great, but I do think sometimes like, I don't know, sometimes you get on social media and you see like people's like, there are like these TikToks around like, this is my 5 to 9 routine and my 9 to 5 routine. And it's just like, I'm like impressed, but at the same time, I'm like, is this really happening every day? Like every single day, you know? So all the power to the people that can consistently do that. I think there are definitely rituals that we have, but then also it's like, but is it something you need right now, right? Where it's like you really need to like get your thoughts onto paper, like in journal. Sometimes I journal and I'm like, I have nothing to say today. So then why am I doing this? You know, like maybe it's just like what am I grateful for today? And that'll be it. You know, versus like other times where I'm like, you know, emotionally have some stuff, you know, that I need to work through.
Yeah, I've
So
got a flight tonight in about 5 hours. And so I've got an evening flight. And I know for me, I need to go sit in the cold plunge for about 4 minutes before
yeah,
I leave to the airport.
yeah,
I need to go just kind of give my body that shock and give that opportunity to start to work a little bit.
yeah.
And that'll be helpful before my flight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. I love that. Well, Jason, this has been such a pleasure. Like, you almost had me crying over here. I like this was like a dream of like what I wanted these conversations to be. And like the vulnerability that you brought is just super, super, super. I just have so much gratitude for it, and thank you so much. Tell us, where can we find you and Malk? Where can we find Malk? There's probably an amazing store locator that everyone can go to, but I of course get them at Whole Foods, and you guys are like in so many doors. But yeah, where can people find you and Malk?
So the beautiful thing, we're up to, I think, approaching 13,000 doors that we're in at this point.
Wow, that's
We do
awesome.
have an amazing product locator on our website,
Yes.
www.malkorganics.com. We're also available with our Tetra product, the shelf stable up there in the box.
Yeah.
Same formulation that's on Amazon as 6 packs. So you can find us there. You can find us on social at Malk Organics. And you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn if there's anything I can do to serve and support you. And a shout out to you. A lot of my focus and conversation was about my experience as a man, but you're 100% right. Every leader and a woman is going through something. It's our jobs to find a way to support each other in the process. So in that journey, find your tribe, find the group that will support you and challenge you to be your best. And I want to honor you. You had a dream to go help others and you made this podcast a reality. So you are making people's lives better. And we would put that 100% into our Dreams Win channel right now because you had a vision and you brought it to life. So all of our respect goes to you for that
I
process.
really appreciate that. That's very beautifully said. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.